So what I did, I put another braid in, and see, I don't have the right clips, so I had to put these little clips in the way, to make sure that I could be able to sew the track onto the braid.
What kind of clips would you usually use?
I use yo-yettes,
Like the
long
metal ones?
yo-yettes, the metal one. And up here, I probably would use a clippy, just the clippies, but this is all I have, so I made it work.
So Miss Gabby, now, is this this row that you just put in, is this going more, are we going in front of the ear yet so that it?
Yes, we're going right. Let me show you where I put it. I'm gonna see. Okay, I went, so it's like from here. You see, I have the hair in the front, and it's going a little above, it's right by the ear. So it's like right here, both of them. So that way it could come down in the front and cover the shorter part. You see what I'm saying? So I want it to come like right here. So it'll all be one length.
Okay.
So you guys see where I braided it? It's more, I left some out in the front so it could cover the track. And I went like around the head. So it could fall about by the ears.
Okay.
So it won't be a big, like long right here and then short right here. So I wanted to kind of blend in because this client wants long hair. Okay, since I'm out of at first I used the 16. I thought that would cover the whole thing, but it didn't. So we're gonna go into the 18. Or you go into 20, whatever one you want. And remember, don't use your hair cutting shears to get all this stuff off. And so you don't really get too much hair on these tracks. So like if you were to do someone's head, a full head, you would get 2 packages. So I already sewed up the braid, so it won't be hanging out. And when you're sewing the braid, you don't have to do it real neatly or anything. You just want it out of your way, because you're gonna go back and sew it again once you put the tracks on. So we're measuring it from where the braid goes, right here. And I'm going all the way around the head. To right where the track ends. Can you see that? And like I say, I always leave it a little tinge longer, because sometimes even if you measure it, sometimes it comes out shorter for some reason. So I'd rather to leave it longer and then cut it off.
Miss Gabby, are you still doubling it up, or are you just doing?
No, I'm doubling it up.
You're doubling it up, okay.
Because if I left it just single, it would be too thin. We'd have to put too many tracks in the head.
Okay.
Unless this hair was really thick, mostly all the hair I double up.
Miss Gabby, if someone had like a bald spot, like right in like the back of their head, how would you do it? Would you just like keep braiding and then?
Like if they had a bald spot, like right here somewhere?
Yeah, like in different spots, yeah.
Well, I would braid above the bald spot.
Okay.
Braid above it. Because if you have a bald spot, you would have no hair to attach right there. So you would skip the bald spot and go up some.
All right, thank you.
So this hair, the track that you put on, like if the bald spot was right here, we'll do the braid above the bald spot and then this hair would cover the bald spot.
Thank you.
So I already have my needles ready. They're about arm length. Trying to make it where you guys can see. Oh, have a needle already in here. So this is the needle that I sewed it together with, that sewed the braid underneath, and I still have some left. So we're gonna start with this. And I'm gonna go down, and I'm gonna hold the track right in place so it doesn't move. And remember, you want this end really secure. So you might need to go over it like 2 or 3 times. So I'm going over it one more time. So it's in there now. Now you could just go, you can sew the rest of it in. You still hold the track in place. In your hand, as you go down, as the needle goes in, you move your hand down, but you hold the track right in place. Like I say, you want it tight, but you don't want it too tight. You don't pull it too tight, like where you pull it in the thread breaks. And the more you sew, the faster you'll get with this. Just like everything, when you start off, at first you go slow. Then once you continue to do it, it becomes so easy. And like I say, the sewing is best done on thicker, curlier hair. Now, if your hair is real thin, sometimes you might be able to see the track. So that's why I would suggest it if your hair was super thin.
What if you have really thick hair, but it's really straight?
Well, if it's real straight, you would get the texture, the straight hair, unless you want curly hair. And the braid, now if your hair is really straight, I would braid a piece of hair into that so it'll stay. Because really straight hair, sometimes if you do small braids, it kind of skips or loose. But like if you braid it, like if your hair is real straight and you braid it the best you can, and you could sew the braid in so it doesn't get loose. Do you understand? With the thread, you just sew over the braid and then put your track in.
Miss Gabby, how much space are you leaving in between your like stitches?
They're really like right by each other. So, I mean, like right by, maybe, I would say, what is that? 1/16.
Like a credit card size, like we say?
Yeah, a
or-
little bit more than a credit card size. Okay, so now I'm about to run out of thread. So what I'm gonna do, I wanna make sure this doesn't come loose. So I'm gonna put a knot in it. And I'm gonna take this thread and I'm gonna go under the thread that's already there. to make a knot, to make sure this doesn't come loose. And you have that much. I should have left a little more thread. And once you cut this out, you're gonna tie another knot with these two little threads. You're gonna tie a knot. Okay, there go your little knot right there. And you still have thread, so you're gonna cut the thread out above the knot, not cutting the knot. And that's why you have another needle already threaded. Oh, this is not tied at the bottom. I normally tie, make sure they're always tied at the bottom. Oh, it is tied. And you just continue where you left off. And this hair, you really want this out the way because this get on your nerves if it keep popping out. It do.
Story of my life.
Uh-huh.
Hair in the way.
Yeah, this hair is in the way. And I tried to lay it down really good with these little clips that I had. That's all I have at home. But I wouldn't use these. I would use longer yo-yettes, and it would, in a big clip up here. But I don't have that, so I just have to use what I have. I forgot to get it at school. Okay, so the knot is right there. You don't want to pull the knot through. And where you ended up, you want to make a knot right there, so it doesn't come loose. Because you don't want no tracks coming out. You don't want her calling you talking about her tracks is loose. Okay, and I'm gonna go through the thread to make sure that it's really tight. All right, and you just go ahead and finish sewing it on. Like I said, you could go underneath if you like. I go down and under. I just find it works better for me. So whichever one works better for you, you could do it. And then when you're sewing it in, like if you use these clips, you want to make sure that the thread don't get caught on the clip. But of course, you guys have yo-yet, so it won't do that. And another reason why you hold your hand together and hold it up here, so you make sure you're sewing both of the tracks together. Because if you don't hold it, one might be down, you know, the bottom one, you won't catch it. And then you have to go back over and re-sew. So we're almost at the end. And if we don't put a knot at the end, this is going to come loose. So you have to put a knot. Or she'll be calling you saying her tracks is coming out. And you don't want them calling you talking about their tracks is falling out or hanging. So we're at the end, and I'm going to make another knot at the end. So I go under, I put the thread around the needle, pull it out, hold it. I'm gonna do it one more time because I sure don't want her tracks coming out. Okay, you see how it's pretty tight there? And then I'll take the needle and I'll just go under the thread. Pull it out. Okay, we pretty tight there. Then we'll cut the thread. Remember, cut it, leave it pretty long so you can put a knot in it. Another knot, and then you cut above the knot, the thread off, and there go your piece stuck in. If I could get these clips out. Okay. Now there you go. It's not going nowhere.
Miss Gabby,
Uh-huh.
question. So, say you did somebody's tracks in their hair and then they got into an altercation with somebody and a piece of their track came out. That's
Mhm.
something that we still charge them for again to redo it, right?
Well, if they got into an altercation and it had nothing to do with you know, it didn't fall out because anything you did, and they came back and half their tracks was off and you had to reattach it, yeah, you should charge them for that.
Okay.
Because you did nothing, you know, you did your work and you did your work good. And they went out and they got into whatever altercation they want and it came loose, that's not your fault. So you have to charge them to put it, you know, to go back through and sew their tracks up. The only way that you don't, you know, would have to do it for free if you did something and you didn't tie the knot and it came loose.
But no one can argue that their track wasn't tight.
No,
Just to
because you're
try to
gonna
get-
make sure it's tight. You're gonna go through it and you're gonna put the knot at the end. So this can't, even if she brushes this, it won't come out. Only way it will come out if you cut it out or if someone, you know, was pulling it. Like they got into you know, a fight or something. But that has nothing to do with your work. They shouldn't be fighting.
Can you pull that away a little? I can't see the whole, like the length part once you're combing it, and then so we
Okay.
can see like what that side one looks like.
I'm gonna pull it up, okay? Make all the, okay. Now can you guys see it?
Much better. Oh my goodness, mullets be gone.
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of that mullet so where it blends in. And I could even put one more track on this if, you know, if I wanted to, or I could just flat on in there, curl it, but you can't see it.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
looks,
why I put another track on it, because you want it to look natural. You don't want it to say, ooh, she got tracks in her head. You want it to say, ooh, her hair looks pretty.
Miss Gabby, Miss Solito, when
Yeah.
we're done putting our last track to make it look more natural, is it okay if we go in and we curl it a little bit?
yeah, do you want them to do that, or do you want them to wait, Miss Gabby, because aren't we gonna cut these? I mean, can they still curl it a little bit? Are we gonna cut these? How do you want the hair when we cut them?
Well, they could curl it because, and just see how it looks.
Sure.
Then you might
okay.
need to put another piece in it or so.
Yeah, I mean,
so if we see that it's like off a little bit, we can always do like a small track on the side, like
you
maybe
can
above
do,
on the
you
side.
can do, you please be creative. I think that's
Yeah.
great. Like, let's get rid of the mullets.
Yeah,
Okay.
please get
Those
rid of the
look good.
mullets. And like her hair right here in the front. If I wanted this part a little longer, I could still put another piece in, but I could like kind of frame the face a little with this, or I could put another piece in. But do you see how you want it to look more natural? You don't want it to look like poof and then long hair where it looks fake.
That looks good, Miss Gabby.
Okay, so she could dance. She could shake her head. She could
Yes.
shake her head, and it ain't going
You
nowhere.
gotta dance it. You gotta be able to dance at your wedding with your tracks and all.
Mhm.